Number 1. 1966 Ford Fairlane convertible, offered at $30,000 and currently located in Fredonia, Wisconsin. In my opinion, this 1966 Ford Fairlane convertible stands out as one of the more interesting listings because it appears to combine classic Ford styling with serious performance upgrades. While many restored classics focus mainly on appearance, this one seems to have received attention both cosmetically and mechanically, creating a car that looks good and is built to be driven. The first thing that catches my attention is the claimed restoration completed within the last 3 years. According to the seller, the car has only accumulated about 500 miles since the restoration was finished, which means most of the components are still relatively fresh. The statement that everything is new suggests that this was a comprehensive project rather than a simple cosmetic refresh. Under the hood is what may be the biggest selling point: a built 427 engine paired with a built C6 automatic transmission. In my view, that's a very desirable combination for anyone who appreciates classic Ford performance. The addition of electronic overdrive should also make highway cruising more comfortable than a traditional vintage transmission setup. The upgrades continue with a Curry 9-inch rear end and 4-wheel disc brakes. Those are the kinds of improvements that can significantly enhance drivability, reliability, and safety while preserving the car's classic character. For many enthusiasts, these upgrades make the car more enjoyable to use regularly without taking away from its vintage appeal. The blue exterior and matching blue interior create a clean and cohesive look. The seller also notes that all chrome and bright work have been replaced, along with a completely new interior. Those details can make a huge difference in the overall presentation of a restored vehicle and often require substantial investment. Another factor I find appealing is that the car reportedly originated from South Dakota and was rust-free before restoration. Rust repair is often one of the most expensive aspects of restoring a classic car, so starting with a solid foundation is always a major advantage. The seller also mentions a written appraisal valuing the car at $59,000. While appraisals don't always reflect actual market value, it does indicate the amount of work and investment that likely went into the build. What makes this listing a little more emotional is the note that the owner has passed away. In my opinion, that adds a personal element to the story and suggests that this may have been a passion project completed with great care and attention to detail. Overall, my opinion is that this 1966 Ford Fairlane convertible appears to offer a lot of value for the asking price. With its recent restoration, powerful 427 engine, upgraded drivetrain, modern braking system, and rust-free history, it seems like a classic Ford that could be enjoyed both at car shows and on the open road. Number 2. 1972 Chevrolet Nova SS Clone, offered at $43,500 and currently located in West Plains, Missouri. From my point of view, this Nova is less about originality and more about delivering maximum performance and driving enjoyment. The seller openly describes it as an SS clone, which tells me this car is aimed at enthusiasts who want the appearance and excitement of a high-performance Nova without necessarily paying the premium that often comes with a documented factory SS. The biggest highlight for me is the 496 cubic inch stroker big block Chevrolet engine. In my opinion, that's the centerpiece of the entire build. A 496 stroker is a serious power plant that typically produces massive torque and strong horsepower, making it far more powerful than what most Novas left the factory with. Combined with AFR aluminum heads and a full roller valve train, this sounds like a carefully planned performance package rather than a basic engine swap. I also like the fact that the car uses a built 700 R4 automatic transmission with a lockup converter. To me, that's a smart upgrade because it provides the benefits of an overdrive transmission, making highway driving more comfortable while still handling the power of the big block engine. Another thing that stands out is the balance between performance and comfort. Often, heavily modified muscle cars sacrifice convenience for speed, but this Nova includes vintage-style heat and air conditioning. Personally, I think that's a major advantage because it makes the car more enjoyable during long drives and summer cruising. The supporting upgrades are impressive as well. The Ford 9-inch rear end with 3.55 gears, frame connectors, coilover suspension, power steering, and power disc brakes suggest that the builder didn't focus only on horsepower. In my opinion, these upgrades show an effort to improve handling, durability, and overall drivability. Cosmetically, the seller mentions new paint, new seat covers, and new wiring. The description of straight body panels and beautiful black paint catches my attention because black is one of the hardest colors to make look good. When a black classic has straight panels and a glossy finish, it usually makes a strong visual statement. Of course, because this is a clone and heavily modified, I wouldn't view it as a collector-grade investment piece. Instead, I see it as a driver-focused muscle car built to be enjoyed. For many buyers, that's actually more appealing because they can drive it hard and enjoy it without worrying about preserving factory originality. At $43,500, I think the value really depends on the quality of the workmanship. If the paint, drivetrain, suspension, and wiring were all completed to a high standard, the asking price becomes easier to justify considering the cost of building a similar car today. Overall, my opinion is that this 1972 Chevrolet Nova SS clone looks like a well-rounded Restomod muscle car with serious big block power, modern drivability upgrades, and fresh cosmetic improvements. It's the kind of classic that seems built for cruising, car shows, and occasional tire smoking fun rather than sitting quietly in a collection. Number 3. 1964 Ford Falcon Sprint Convertible, offered at $32,500 and currently located in Grand Forks, North Dakota. In my opinion, this 1964 Ford Falcon Sprint Convertible is far from a typical Falcon restoration. Instead, it appears to be a thoughtfully built custom Restomod that combines classic Ford styling with significantly upgraded performance and drivability. For buyers looking for originality, this may not be the ideal choice. But for someone who wants a classic car that is exciting to drive and capable of turning heads wherever it goes, this Falcon looks very appealing. The first thing that stands out is the custom metallic purple paint combined with custom graphics. Personally, I think this immediately changes the personality of the car. Rather than blending into a crowd of restored classics, this Falcon was clearly built to stand out. The seller even notes that the finish needs to be seen in person to be fully appreciated, which suggests a high level of detail in the paint and bodywork. What really grabs my attention, however, is the 400 cubic inch small block Ford the 5th 8 under the hood. In my view, this is what transforms the car from a pleasant classic convertible into something much more serious. The Falcon was originally a relatively lightweight platform, so adding this level of V8 power likely creates a very impressive power-to-weight ratio. Cars like this can deliver performance that surprises people who expect a mild 1960s cruiser. Backing that engine is a TCI-built Ford C6 automatic transmission, a combination known for durability and strength. From my perspective, this setup suggests that the builder wanted reliability as well as performance. The C6 has long been respected for its ability to handle substantial horsepower, making it a logical match for the upgraded engine. Another feature I particularly like is the Mustang II front suspension conversion with rack and pinion steering. In my opinion, this is one of the most beneficial upgrades available for many classic Fords. While original Falcons are enjoyable to drive, modernized steering and suspension can dramatically improve handling, responsiveness, and overall road manners. It helps bridge the gap between vintage style and modern driving expectations. The addition of power steering and power brakes further supports that philosophy. These upgrades make the car easier to maneuver and more comfortable to drive in everyday situations. Combined with front disc brakes, the Falcon should offer significantly improved stopping performance compared to many stock vehicles from the same era. Inside the cabin, the Dakota digital gauges stand out as a modern touch. Personally, I think digital instrumentation is one of those modifications that enthusiasts either love or hate. However, from a practical standpoint, it provides accurate information and modern reliability while complementing the Restomod theme of the build. The seller mentions that the build was completed approximately 5 years ago and has accumulated only around 4,000 miles since then. To me, that suggests the car has been driven enough to work out most post-build issues while still remaining relatively fresh. It also indicates that the vehicle may have spent much of its time being carefully stored and enjoyed on special occasions. The fact that it has always been garaged is another positive sign. Proper storage can make a significant difference in preserving paint, interior materials, weather seals, and overall condition. Given the investment required to build a car like this, indoor storage is exactly what I would expect from a conscientious owner. If I were evaluating this Falcon as a potential purchase, I would view it primarily as a custom-built cruiser rather than a collector-focused investment. Its value comes from the quality of the modifications, the performance upgrades, and the overall driving experience rather than strict originality. Overall, my opinion is that this 1964 Ford Falcon Sprint convertible appears to be a very attractive restomod that successfully combines classic 1960s styling with modern performance enhancements. The 400 cubic inch V8, upgraded suspension, rack and pinion steering, power accessories, custom paint, and low mileage since completion create a package that seems designed to be driven and enjoyed. While it may not appeal to purists seeking a factory-correct Falcon, it looks like the kind of car that could draw a crowd at any cruise night while delivering a far more exciting driving experience than most people would expect from a classic Falcon. Number 4. 1964 Ford Galaxie 500, offered at $16,500 and currently located in Sioux City, Iowa. From my perspective, this is one of those classic full-size Fords that delivers a lot of car for the money. While many enthusiasts focus on Mustangs and muscle cars, the Galaxie 500 often flies under the radar despite offering impressive styling, V8 power, and a comfortable cruising experience that captures the spirit of the 1960s. What immediately catches my attention is the price compared to the amount of work that's already been completed. At first glance, this appears to be a classic that has received meaningful mechanical upgrades rather than just cosmetic improvements. And that's usually where I prefer to see money invested. The heart of this Galaxie is its 352 cubic inch V8, which was rebuilt in 2022. In my opinion, that's one of the strongest selling points of the car. Engine rebuilds are among the most expensive maintenance items on a classic vehicle, so knowing that the work has already been completed gives potential buyers a lot more confidence. The fact that the automatic transmission was rebuilt as recently as 2024 is another major plus. To me, that combination alone suggests the owner has been focused on reliability and drivability rather than simply keeping the car running with temporary fixes. A freshly rebuilt engine and transmission can make a huge difference in how enjoyable a classic car is to own. I also like the decision to convert the front brakes to power disc brakes. This is one of those upgrades that doesn't necessarily change the appearance of the car, but it can dramatically improve the driving experience. Modern traffic conditions are very different from what they were in 1964, and improved braking performance makes a classic car feel much more comfortable and confidence-inspiring on today's roads. The addition of an aluminum radiator is another upgrade I view positively. Cooling systems are often a concern with older vehicles, especially during summer cruising, and an upgraded radiator can help keep temperatures under control during longer drives. Performance-wise, the hypo headers, dual exhaust system, and Flowmaster mufflers likely give the 352 V8 a much stronger voice than it had from the factory. Personally, I think a big Ford the 5th 8 should sound like a big Ford the 5th 8, and upgrades like these help bring out that classic American exhaust note without completely changing the car's character. Visually, the red exterior paired with the black interior creates a timeless combination. The new 17-inch wheels and tires also modernize the appearance slightly while maintaining the overall personality of the car. It's a subtle way of making the Galaxie feel more contemporary without losing its vintage identity. Another thing I appreciate is that this doesn't appear to be marketed as a perfect show car. Instead, it comes across as a driver-focused classic that has been upgraded where it matters most. In many ways, that's the type of classic I find most appealing because it encourages owners to get behind the wheel and enjoy the car rather than constantly worry about preserving perfection. The seller's willingness to consider trades for older Ford wagons also suggests that this vehicle is coming from someone who genuinely enjoys classic Fords rather than simply flipping cars for profit. While that doesn't affect the car itself, it often reflects a certain level of enthusiasm and long-term ownership. At $16,500, I think this Galaxie occupies a very attractive spot in today's classic car market. You're getting a rebuilt engine, rebuilt transmission, upgraded brakes, improved cooling system, modern wheels, and a healthy-sounding dual exhaust setup for a price that's often lower than many entry-level muscle cars. Overall, my opinion is that this 1964 Ford Galaxie 500 offers excellent value for someone who wants a dependable full-size classic with recent mechanical work already completed. It may not be the flashiest collector car on the market, but it appears to be the kind of vehicle that can be started, driven, and enjoyed with confidence. For buyers who appreciate big American cruisers with proven V8 power and sensible upgrades, this Galaxie looks like a strong contender and one that could provide years of enjoyable ownership. Number 5. 1972 Oldsmobile Cutlass Supreme, offered at $23,900 and currently located in Leland, Illinois. In my opinion, this is exactly the type of classic car that many enthusiasts actually enjoy owning the most. It's not being advertised as a concours-level show car, and it's not a major restoration project either. Instead, it appears to be what collectors often call a driver-quality classic, a car that looks good, runs well, and can be enjoyed regularly without the stress of keeping it locked away in a garage. The first thing that grabs my attention is the color combination. The burgundy exterior paired with a white bucket seat interior is a very attractive and distinctly 1970s combination. It gives the car a premium appearance and helps separate it from the more common black-on-black muscle car combinations that dominate many shows and cruise nights. Under the hood is the original Rocket 350 V8 paired with a turbo 350 automatic transmission. In my view, this is one of the best combinations for someone who wants a reliable classic cruiser. The Rocket 350 has a long reputation for smooth performance, durability, and easy maintenance. It may not produce the headline horsepower numbers of a 442 or big block muscle car, but it delivers exactly the kind of effortless V8 experience that made Oldsmobiles so popular during the era. One detail I particularly like is that the seller openly describes the car as not a show car but a pretty nice driver. To me, that statement adds credibility. Sellers who acknowledge imperfections often give a more realistic picture of what buyers can expect. It suggests this Cutlass is meant to be driven and enjoyed rather than judged under bright lights at a concours event. The equipment list is actually quite impressive for a 1972 vehicle. Power steering and power front disc brakes are highly desirable because they make the car much easier and safer to drive in modern traffic. The air conditioning system was recently serviced, which is another major advantage, especially for summer cruising. What really stands out, however, are the power windows and power door locks. Those features were relatively uncommon on many early 1970s intermediates and add a touch of luxury that fits perfectly with the Cutlass Supreme's upscale positioning within the Oldsmobile lineup. The interior sounds especially appealing. White bucket seats, a factory 8-track tape deck, and a hidden Kenwood stereo mounted inside the glove box create a nice balance between originality and modern convenience. The factory 8-track system serves as a reminder of the car's era, while the hidden stereo allows the owner to enjoy modern audio without disrupting the classic appearance of the dashboard. The recent paintwork on the original hood is another encouraging sign. It suggests the owner has continued investing in the car's appearance rather than simply maintaining it mechanically. Combined with the American racing wheels and BF Goodrich radial T/A tires, the Cutlass likely has a strong street presence while still retaining much of its original character. I also appreciate that the seller includes the original style wheels with Cooper Cobra tires. Having both wheel sets gives the next owner flexibility. They can enjoy the more aggressive aftermarket appearance or return the car to a more factory-inspired look depending on personal preference. At $23,900, the asking price places this Cutlass in a competitive segment of the classic car market. It's not inexpensive, but it also isn't priced like a fully restored investment-grade muscle car. Considering the desirable options, original drivetrain, working air conditioning, power accessories, and overall presentation, the number feels fairly consistent with what many enthusiasts are currently paying for solid, ready-to-enjoy A-body classics. If I were evaluating this car as a potential purchase, I'd see it less as an investment piece and more as a lifestyle classic. This is the type of car you take to weekend cruise-ins, local car shows, and summer road trips. It has enough originality to satisfy traditional collectors while offering enough comfort features to make driving enjoyable. Overall, My impression is that this 1972 Oldsmobile Cutlass Supreme strikes a very appealing balance between classic muscle-era styling and everyday usability. The Rocket 350 V8, automatic transmission, power accessories, factory 8-track, attractive color combination, and honest presentation make it feel like a well-rounded classic that was built to be enjoyed rather than simply admired from a distance. Number 6. 1962 Lincoln Continental Convertible, offered at $75,000 and currently located in St. Paul, Minnesota. In my opinion, this 1962 Lincoln Continental Convertible is one of the most iconic American luxury cars ever built. Few vehicles from the early 1960s have achieved the same level of recognition, and even today the Continental remains a symbol of elegance, prestige, and timeless design. What immediately stands out to me is the clean white exterior paired with a black interior. It's a classic color combination that perfectly complements the Continental's long, straight body lines and sophisticated styling. The design still looks impressive more than 60 years later and has a presence that many modern luxury cars struggle to match. According to the seller, the car has received a new convertible top, new interior, new paint, and a new exhaust system. Those are some of the most expensive areas to restore on a classic convertible, so it's encouraging to see that these major items have already been addressed. The polished stainless trim is another detail that can dramatically improve the overall appearance of a vintage luxury car. One of the biggest selling points for me is the statement that everything works as it should. Anyone familiar with classic luxury vehicles knows that power accessories, convertible top systems, and electrical components can often require extensive repairs. A fully functioning example is always more appealing than one that still needs sorting out. The 1962 Continental was built during an era when Lincoln focused heavily on comfort and craftsmanship. This wasn't designed to be a muscle car. It was designed to provide a smooth, effortless driving experience while making a statement wherever it went. That's exactly what makes these cars so desirable today. Of course, the $75,000 asking price places it in a premium category, but this isn't an ordinary classic convertible. The Continental has become one of the most sought-after American luxury cars of its generation, especially when presented in well-maintained condition. Overall, my opinion is that this 1962 Lincoln Continental Convertible appears to be a beautifully restored luxury cruiser with timeless styling and strong collector appeal. For someone looking for a classic that combines elegance, history, and open-air driving, this Lincoln would be very difficult to overlook. Number 7. 1970 Ford Galaxy 500 XL, offered at $12,995 and currently located in Holcomb, Wisconsin. From my point of view, this is one of those full-size American classics that doesn't always get the recognition it deserves. While many collectors focus on Mustangs, Chevelles, or Chargers, cars like the Galaxy 500 XL offer a completely different experience, one centered on comfort, style, and effortless cruising rather than outright performance. The first thing that stands out to me is the color combination. The red exterior paired with a white interior is classic American automotive design at its best. Personally, I think this combination gives the car a very upscale appearance and helps highlight the long, elegant body lines that made full-size Fords of this era so distinctive. Another thing I like is the XL trim package. In my opinion, the XL models always had a little more personality than the standard Galaxy. They were designed to feel sportier and more premium, giving buyers a blend of luxury and style that fit perfectly with the personal car market of the late 1960s and early 1970s. With approximately 99,000 miles showing, this appears to be a car that has actually been driven and enjoyed over the years rather than hidden away in storage. Personally, I don't automatically see that as a negative. Sometimes a classic that has been used regularly can be more dependable than one that has spent decades sitting untouched. The listing doesn't provide extensive details about the engine or restoration history, so I would view this car primarily as a cruiser rather than a performance-oriented build. To me, that's exactly where a Galaxy shines. These cars were built for comfortable highway travel, family road trips, and smooth driving experiences, and they still excel at those things today. What also catches my attention is the seller's comment about testing the waters. In my experience, that usually means the owner isn't desperate to sell and is trying to gauge market interest. Because of that, there may be room for discussion about the car's true value depending on its condition, documentation, and mechanical state. At an asking price of $12,995, I think the Galaxy occupies a very interesting position in the classic car market. It's significantly more affordable than many muscle cars from the same era, yet it still offers vintage styling, a large comfortable cabin, and the unmistakable presence of a full-size American automobile. Overall, my opinion is that this 1970 Ford Galaxy 500 XL looks like an attractive and affordable classic cruiser. It may not be the most famous collector car on the market, but its striking red and white color combination, desirable XL trim, and full-size Ford character make it the kind of vehicle that can provide a lot of enjoyment for someone who appreciates traditional American styling and relaxed cruising. Number 8, 1975 Ford Elite, offered at $17,995 and currently located in Wautoma, Wisconsin. In my opinion, this 1975 Ford Elite is exactly the kind of classic car that often gets overlooked in today's market, and that may actually be one of its biggest strengths. While many enthusiasts focus on Mustangs, Thunderbirds, or muscle cars from the same era, the Elite occupies a unique place in Ford history as a personal luxury coupe designed to prioritize comfort, style, and effortless cruising. What immediately catches my attention is the claimed mileage of just 24,332 original miles. If that figure is accurate, it would be a significant selling point. Low-mileage survivors from the mid-1970s are becoming increasingly difficult to find because many of these cars were driven extensively as daily transportation. A well-preserved example with relatively low mileage often provides a glimpse into what these vehicles felt like when they were still new. The silver exterior paired with a blue interior feels very period-correct to me. Ford offered some distinctive color combinations during the 1970s, and this combination reflects the era well. Rather than trying to imitate a muscle car, the Elite embraced luxury-inspired styling with a long hood, formal roofline, and upscale appearance that was intended to compete with other personal luxury coupes of the time. Under the hood is a 351 cubic inch V8, which I think is one of the most attractive aspects of the car. The 351 is known for providing solid torque and dependable cruising performance. It may not deliver the high horsepower excitement associated with earlier muscle cars, but that was never the Elite's mission. Instead, the engine was designed to provide smooth, effortless power for comfortable highway driving. The 3-speed automatic transmission further supports that luxury-oriented character. In my view, this combination makes the car ideal for relaxed cruising rather than aggressive driving. It is the kind of vehicle that feels most at home on open roads, where the V8 can settle into a smooth rhythm and the comfortable ride can be fully appreciated. One thing I particularly like about this listing is the emphasis on road readiness. The seller states that the car has been detailed, inspected, and is ready to drive without needing transportation by trailer. In my experience, that's often an encouraging sign because it suggests the vehicle is being presented as a usable classic rather than a project awaiting completion. The Ford Elite itself remains one of the more underappreciated models of the 1970s. Because it was produced during an era that some collectors tend to overlook, values have generally remained more affordable than many earlier classics. However, I think interest in well-preserved 1970s vehicles has been steadily growing as enthusiasts begin to recognize their unique styling and historical significance. Another reason I find this car appealing is its originality. Many surviving 1970s coupes have been modified, neglected, or heavily altered over the years. A low-mileage example that appears largely intact can be more attractive to buyers who appreciate preservation and authenticity. If I were evaluating this car, I would view it as a comfortable, stylish cruiser rather than a performance vehicle. The value here comes from its condition, originality, low mileage, and ability to provide a genuine 1970s driving experience. Not every classic needs to be a muscle car to be enjoyable. Overall, my opinion is that this 1975 Ford Elite represents an interesting opportunity for someone looking to own a distinctive and relatively uncommon Ford from the personal luxury era. The reported low mileage, 351 V8, road-ready condition, and original character make it a compelling option for buyers who appreciate comfort, nostalgia, and understated classic styling. It may not attract the same attention as a Mustang or Torino, but that uniqueness is precisely what makes it special. Number 9. 1965 Ford Galaxie 500 Ltd, offered at $7,500 and currently located in Manchester, Iowa. From my perspective, this is the kind of listing that immediately gets attention because of one simple factor: the price. In today's classic car market, it's becoming increasingly difficult to find a running, driving full-size V8 Ford for under $10,000, especially one that comes with a clean title and appears to be complete. The first thing that stands out to me is the 390 Interceptor V8. For many Ford enthusiasts, that's the highlight of the entire listing. The 390 FE series engine has long been known for its strong torque, durability, and unmistakable big block character. It's the type of engine that gives a large car like the Galaxie effortless cruising power and that classic deep V8 sound people associate with mid-1960s American cars. Personally, I think the presence of the 390 makes this car significantly more appealing than a standard small block equipped Galaxie. Even if the body isn't perfect, having a desirable engine under the hood adds a lot of value to the overall package. The seller states that the car runs and drives well with no leaks, which is encouraging. In my opinion, that's often one of the biggest hurdles when shopping for affordable classics. It's one thing to buy a project that needs everything. It's another to find a vehicle you can actually drive home and enjoy while gradually improving it. I also appreciate that the seller is upfront about the car's condition. The body is described as a 5 or 6 out of 10, and that's actually useful information. Rather than presenting the car as flawless, the seller acknowledges the paint chips, previous repaint work, and body filler repairs. That level of transparency tends to give me more confidence in the rest of the description. Looking at the overall package, I see this as a driver-quality classic rather than a show car. The exterior may not be perfect, but the red paint and black interior combinations still give the car a strong visual presence. These large mid-1960s Fords have a natural elegance to them, and even an imperfect example can attract attention at local cruise nights. One detail I find particularly interesting is the inclusion of a brand new wiring harness. Electrical issues are among the most frustrating problems on older vehicles, and the seller openly admits that a previous owner's wiring work wasn't done particularly well. The fact that a replacement harness is already included could save the next owner both time and money. The spare parts package is another positive. Extra dash components, lights, and miscellaneous parts may not sound exciting, but anyone who has owned a classic car knows that having spare components available can be extremely valuable down the road. The recently installed starter also suggests that the vehicle has continued to receive maintenance rather than being neglected. Small updates like that often indicate an owner who has been actively keeping the car operational. At $7,500, I honestly think the biggest appeal here is value. You're getting a complete Galaxie, a desirable 390 Interceptor V8, an automatic transmission, spare parts, a new wiring harness, and a car that reportedly runs and drives, all for a price that is often lower than many unfinished project cars. Overall, my opinion is that this 1965 Ford Galaxie 500 Ltd represents a solid entry-level classic for someone who values mechanical potential over cosmetic perfection. It isn't a concours restoration, and it doesn't pretend to be. Instead, it offers something many enthusiasts are searching for, a reasonably priced big block Ford that can be driven today and improved tomorrow. For the right buyer, this could be one of those affordable classics that delivers far more enjoyment than its price tag might suggest. Number 10, 1963 Ford Fairlane 500 V8, offered at $12,500 and currently located in Columbus, Indiana. In my opinion, this is the type of classic Ford that often represents a better value than many of the more famous models from the same era. While Mustangs, Thunderbirds, and Galaxies tend to attract the spotlight, the Fairlane quietly occupies a sweet spot between full-size comfort and compact practicality, making it a very appealing vintage cruiser for enthusiasts who appreciate understated classics. What immediately stands out to me is the seller's emphasis on the car's solid condition. When someone describes a 60-plus-year-old Midwest vehicle as having no rust underneath, that's usually one of the most important details in the entire listing. Mechanical components can be repaired and interiors can be restored, but structural rust is often what determines whether a classic car is truly worth saving. The seller does acknowledge some small rust spots on the body, which honestly doesn't concern me much based on the description. In fact, I prefer when sellers openly mention imperfections rather than claiming a car is perfect. Small cosmetic flaws are normal on an older vehicle and are generally much easier to address than major corrosion hidden underneath. Another positive detail is the condition of the chrome. On early 1960s American cars, chrome trim is a huge part of the vehicle's overall appearance. Replacing or restoring chrome can be surprisingly expensive, so hearing that all of the chrome is in good condition adds meaningful value. Bright trim can dramatically improve how a classic presents both on the road and at local car shows. The Fairlane 500 itself occupies an interesting place in Ford history. During the early 1960s, it was designed to bridge the gap between Ford's compact and full-size offerings. The result was a car that offered plenty of room and style without the bulk of larger models. Today, that translates into a classic that feels substantial but is often easier to own and maintain than some of its larger contemporaries. The listing identifies the car as a V8 model, which is another strong point. Ford's V8-powered Fairlanes were known for offering smooth performance and relaxed cruising characteristics. Even without detailed engine specifications, the presence of a V8 gives the car the traditional American driving experience that many collectors are looking for. From a styling perspective, the 1963 Fairlane has aged remarkably well. The clean body lines, modest tail fins, and tasteful chrome accents reflect a period when American cars were transitioning away from the excesses of the 1950s while still retaining plenty of visual personality. It's a design that feels elegant rather than aggressive. At $12,500, I think this car occupies an attractive position in the classic car market. It's not priced like a high-end show car, but it also doesn't sound like a major project. Based on the description, it appears to be the kind of vehicle that could be enjoyed immediately while still offering opportunities for cosmetic improvements down the road. What I find most appealing is that this Fairlane seems to embody the concept of an honest classic. It's not being marketed as a rare performance model or an investment-grade collector piece. Instead, it appears to be a solid, well-preserved vintage Ford that has survived the decades remarkably well. Overall, my impression is that this 1963 Ford Fairlane 500 V8 could be an excellent choice for someone looking to enter the classic car hobby without spending a fortune. The solid underbody, good chrome, V8 power, and relatively reasonable asking price create a package that feels both practical and enjoyable. It may not be the most famous Ford of the 1960s, but sometimes the best classics are the ones that quietly deliver the most value and enjoyment for the money. Number 11, 1962 Ford Galaxie 500, offered at $26,500 and currently located in East Peoria, Illinois. In my opinion, this 1962 Ford Galaxie 500 is the kind of classic car that appeals to enthusiasts who value originality above everything else. In today's market, it's becoming harder and harder to find vehicles that haven't been heavily modified or completely restored, which makes an original survivor like this particularly interesting. What stands out to me immediately is the seller's claim that the car is largely original, with only the wheels, intake, and carburetor being aftermarket additions. The fact that the paint and interior are described as original and still in very good condition is something I find impressive. Once a car has been restored, it can never truly be original again, so preserving that factory character adds a unique appeal. Under the hood is the desirable 390 cubic inch V8 engine, one of Ford's most respected engines from the early 1960s. From my perspective, the 390 offers a great balance of power and drivability, especially in a full-size car like the Galaxie. The seller mentions that it starts easily and the automatic transmission shifts smoothly, which are encouraging signs for anyone looking for a classic that can actually be driven and enjoyed. The burgundy exterior paired with the matching burgundy interior gives the car a very period-correct appearance. It's a color combination that really captures the style and personality of the early 1960s, when manufacturers weren't afraid to offer bold and distinctive designs. I also like the fact that the seller is honest about the car's condition. They acknowledge that it's not perfect and has some minor paint scratches, which is exactly what I would expect from a well-preserved original vehicle. To me, those small imperfections are part of the car's history rather than flaws that need to be erased. Overall, my opinion is that this 1962 Ford Galaxie 500 would be most attractive to someone who appreciates authenticity. It may not be a concours-level show car, but it appears to be a genuine survivor with original character, a strong-running 390 V8, and the kind of honest condition that many collectors actively seek today. Number 12, 1969 Oldsmobile Cutlass S, offered at $9,000 and currently located in Otsego, Michigan. From my point of view, this Cutlass is one of the more honest classic car listings I've come across. Instead of claiming the car is perfect, the seller openly points out both the strengths and weaknesses, which actually gives me more confidence in the description. The first thing that catches my attention is the body style. This is a Cutlass S two-door post car, which is a little different from the more commonly seen hardtop models. Personally, I've always thought post cars have a tougher, more old-school appearance. They may not bring the same attention as a 442, but they have a unique character that appeals to enthusiasts who appreciate simplicity and originality. Under the hood is a Rocket 352-barrel V8 paired with a 3-on-the-tree manual transmission. In my opinion, that's one of the most interesting parts of the car. You rarely see column-shift manual transmissions anymore, especially in V8-powered cars. It's not the fastest setup, but it delivers a driving experience that feels completely different from modern vehicles. What really stands out to me is the recent mechanical work. The engine was rebuilt in the spring of 2026, the clutch was replaced in 2025, and much of the brake system has already been refreshed. For a buyer looking for a driver rather than a full restoration project, that's a significant advantage because some of the most expensive maintenance items have already been addressed. I also appreciate that the seller mentions the car's flaws. The cracked windshield, rust in the fenders and quarter panels, some rust in the trunk floor, and the windshield wiper issue are all things a potential buyer should know. However, the seller also states that the underside is solid, which, in my opinion, is more important than cosmetic rust in many cases. At $9,000, I don't see this as a show car or investment-grade collector vehicle. Instead, I view it as an affordable entry into classic car ownership. The combination of a rebuilt V8, manual transmission, new tires and wheels, and a reportedly solid underside makes it seem like a car that can be enjoyed while gradually improving the cosmetic details over time. Overall, my opinion is that this 1969 Oldsmobile Cutlass S is a straightforward, driver-quality classic with a lot of charm. It has some imperfections, but it also has recent mechanical upgrades, a rare manual transmission setup, and the kind of vintage personality that's becoming harder to find. For someone looking for a classic they can actually drive and enjoy without spending a fortune, this Cutlass looks like a very interesting option. Estimated narration time, approximately 2 minutes. Number 13, 1964 Chevrolet Nova Super Sport, offered at $45,000 and currently located in Big Lake, Minnesota. In my opinion, this 1964 Chevrolet Nova SS appears to be much more than a restored classic. It looks like a carefully built hot rod designed for driving enthusiasts who want vintage styling combined with serious performance. What I find particularly interesting is that the seller is upfront about the car not being an original factory-correct restoration. Instead, it has been transformed into a modern-style street machine, and that honesty helps set the right expectations. The biggest highlight for me is the GM Performance 383-stroker engine. In a lightweight platform like the 1964 Nova, a properly built 383 can deliver an incredible power-to-weight ratio. The combination of the hot cam, fast-burn aluminum heads, Holley 650 double-pumper carburetor, and Doug's headers suggests that this engine was assembled with performance in mind rather than simply adding horsepower numbers to a sales listing. On paper, This setup should provide strong throttle response, excellent torque, and the kind of aggressive exhaust note that makes a classic hot rod memorable. Another feature that stands out is the muslce 4-speed manual transmission paired with a Hurst shifter. Personally, I think a manual transmission is exactly what belongs behind a powerful small block in a car like this. It creates a much more engaging driving experience and allows the driver to fully enjoy the performance potential of the engine. The Hurst shifter is also a respected name among muscle car enthusiasts and adds to the authentic hot rod feel. The rear-end setup also caught my attention. The shortened Chevrolet 12-bolt positraction rear axle with what appears to be 3.55 gears is a serious upgrade compared to many factory configurations. In my opinion, this combination offers a nice balance between acceleration and highway cruising. It is the kind of drivetrain package that suggests the builder wanted the car to be driven regularly rather than simply displayed. One of the strongest points in the entire listing is the rust-free California history. The seller specifically mentions documentation and registrations going back decades, which is something I always consider a positive sign. Rust is often one of the biggest concerns when purchasing a classic car, and a genuine California car with documented history can be very appealing. The seller even states that it is among the most rust-free Novas they have seen in over 40 years of involvement with these vehicles. While I would still inspect it personally, that statement certainly grabs attention. The fresh paint and bodywork completed within the last year also add value in my view. Paint and body restoration are often among the most expensive aspects of a classic car build. A recently completed exterior means the next owner may be able to focus on enjoying the car rather than immediately planning cosmetic work. What I like most about this Nova is that it seems to have a clear identity. It is not trying to be a numbers-matching collector car, and it is not pretending to be a museum piece. Instead, it appears to be a purpose-built driver that combines classic Nova styling with modernized performance components. There is something refreshing about a classic car that embraces its hot rod nature rather than chasing factory originality. From a value perspective, the $45,000 asking price reflects the extensive drivetrain upgrades, rust-free body, fresh paint, and overall build quality. Whether that number feels right would ultimately depend on the quality of the workmanship and supporting documentation, but it is clear that substantial investment has gone into the car. Overall, my opinion is that this 1964 Chevrolet Nova SS would likely appeal most to enthusiasts who prioritize driving enjoyment over factory-correct authenticity. The 383-stroker, muslce 4-speed, 12-bolt positraction rear end, rust-free California history, and fresh restoration work create a package that sounds exciting, well thought out, and ready to enjoy. If the build quality matches the seller's description, this Nova has the potential to be one of those classic cars that is just as fun to drive as it is to admire. Number 14, 1970 Chevrolet Impala Coupe, offered at $24,995 and currently located in Wayne, Nebraska. From my perspective, this is one of those cars that perfectly demonstrates why full-size American classics have been gaining more attention in recent years. While many buyers focus exclusively on Chevelles, Camaros, and Novas, cars like the 1970 Impala often deliver comparable V8 excitement, more interior space, and a distinctive presence for significantly less money. The first thing that grabs my attention is the engine. This Impala is powered by a 383 Blueprint stroker producing an impressive 436 horsepower. In my opinion, that's what transforms this car from a comfortable cruiser into something much more exciting. Blueprint engines have built a strong reputation among enthusiasts for delivering reliable performance, and a 436 horsepower stroker motor in a full-size Chevrolet sounds like a very entertaining combination. What I particularly like is that the build appears to focus on more than just horsepower. The TH350 automatic transmission is a proven setup that works well behind a strong small block, and the addition of Wilwood power disc brakes suggests that the owner also considered stopping power. For me, that's always a sign of a balanced build rather than simply chasing horsepower numbers. The power steering is another feature that makes sense on a car of this size. Full-size American coupes from this era were designed to be comfortable highway cruisers, and power steering helps preserve that easy driving character while still allowing the driver to enjoy the upgraded performance. One of the most interesting modifications mentioned in the listing is the Pipes dual exhaust system with electric cutouts. Personally, I think that's one of the coolest features on the entire car. It essentially gives the owner two personalities in one vehicle. You can cruise quietly when desired, then open the cutouts and let the 383-stroker produce a much more aggressive sound when the situation calls for it. Visually, the green exterior paired with the black interior gives the car a classic muscle-era appearance. It's not the most common color combination seen today, which actually makes it more interesting in my opinion. Combined with the REV wheels and Cooper Cobra radial GT tires, the car appears to strike a balance between classic styling and modern street machine attitude. The seller describes the body as aero straight with only minor imperfections, and if that's accurate, it represents a major advantage. Large body panels on full-size cars can be expensive and difficult to restore properly, so finding a solid example with good body lines is always a positive sign. I also appreciate the mention of good glass, chrome, and trim. Those details are often overlooked in listings, but replacing or restoring trim pieces on a 1970 Impala can become expensive and time-consuming. Having those components already in good condition adds meaningful value to the overall package. The nearly flawless interior is another aspect that stands out. For many classic car enthusiasts, a clean interior dramatically improves the ownership experience because it's the part of the vehicle you interact with every time you drive. Combined with a retro-style Bluetooth radio, the cabin appears to offer a nice mix of vintage appearance and modern convenience. At just under $25,000, I think this Impala occupies a very interesting position in the market. If someone were to build a similar car today with a blueprint stroker engine, upgraded brakes, exhaust system, wheels, tires, and interior work, the investment could easily exceed the asking price. That's one reason why completed driver quality classics often attract attention. Overall, my opinion is that this 1970 Chevrolet Impala Coupe offers a compelling combination of performance, comfort, and value. It has enough horsepower to be exciting, enough upgrades to be enjoyable, and enough originality in its design to retain the character that made these cars special in the first place. For someone looking for a weekend cruiser that stands apart from the usual muscle car crowd while still delivering serious V8 performance, this Impala looks like a very attractive option and one that could generate plenty of attention at both car shows and local cruise nights. Number 15. 1974 Chevrolet Malibu Coupe, offered at $1,000 and currently located in Viborg, South Dakota. In my opinion, this is the definition of a true project car. Unlike some listings where sellers describe a vehicle as a project, even though it's mostly complete and drivable, this Malibu genuinely requires a significant amount of work before it could ever return to the road. That said, at just $1,000, it also presents an interesting opportunity for the right buyer. The first thing that stands out is that this was originally a factory V8 car. Even though the drivetrain is currently missing, having started life as a V8 model adds some appeal because many enthusiasts prefer building from an original V8 platform rather than converting a six-cylinder car later. It gives the next owner a solid foundation if they decide to pursue a restoration or performance-oriented build. What I find encouraging is that the seller describes the body as fairly complete. The grille, trim, bumpers, and glass are reportedly still with the car, and that's actually a bigger deal than many people realize. On 1970s vehicles, tracking down missing trim pieces and exterior components can become surprisingly expensive and time-consuming. A complete car, even a rough one, is often worth more than a cleaner shell missing important parts. The biggest challenge, of course, is the missing drivetrain. Since the car does not run or drive and currently has no engine or transmission, any buyer needs to view this as a long-term project rather than a quick fix. Installing a drivetrain, sorting out the wiring, fuel system, brakes, and suspension can easily turn into a substantial undertaking. The seller mentions that the interior is rough, but still largely complete. In my experience, that's another positive sign. Restoring worn seats and interior panels is usually easier than trying to locate rare components that have completely disappeared over the years. At least the next owner has something to start with rather than searching for every missing piece. One aspect I particularly like is the seller's honesty about the car's condition. There are no claims about it being a rare collector's item or an easy restoration. Instead, it's presented exactly for what it is, a non-running classic with potential. That straightforward approach tends to make me more confident in a listing. The 1974 Malibu itself occupies an interesting place in Chevrolet history. It came during the transition period after the peak muscle car years, when manufacturers were beginning to focus more on emissions, safety regulations, and comfort. While these mid-1970s Chevrolets were often overlooked for years, they've started gaining appreciation because they still retain much of the classic rear-wheel drive American car formula. From a builder's perspective, I can see why the seller mentions enduro racing, drag racing, or restoration. The platform is versatile enough to support all three directions. Some buyers might choose to install a modern crate engine and build a street machine, while others may prefer restoring it closer to factory specifications. At $1,000, I don't think anyone is buying this car based on what it currently is. The purchase decision is entirely based on what the car could become. That's an important distinction. This is not a turnkey classic, not a weekend cruiser, and not an investment-grade collector car in its current state. It's a blank canvas. Overall, my impression is that this 1974 Chevrolet Malibu is best suited for someone who enjoys the building process as much as the finished product. The complete body, factory V8 heritage, clean title, and low asking price create a foundation with real potential. It will require significant time, effort, and money, but for the right enthusiast, that challenge is exactly what makes a project car worth pursuing.